welcome to the International Federation of Public History YouTube channel. My name is Lily and I am an IFPH Explorers intern. Today we are going to be making pavlova and discussing a bit about the history of the Pavlova Wars.
The term pavlova describes a series of Australian and New Zealand sweet treats named in honour of the famous ballerina Anna Pavlova. Pavlova toured Australia and New Zealand in 1926, bringing Russian ballet across the globe for people who often could not visit Europe. An article in the Otago Witness explained that attending the Russian ballet and seeing Pavlova dance represented the highest peak of ambition for many in New Zealand, describing her tour as a miracle. The article demonstrated notable reverence for Pavlova, stating she was a snowflake scintillating in a world of moonlight. The white glossy Pavlova is a fitting imitation of the delicate swan that came to characterize her. However, despite the honourable intentions behind the dessert, there is much conflict between Australia and New Zealand concerning its origin. Food anthropologist Helen M. Leach said Australian chef Herbert Saxby triggered the dispute in 1973 after claiming he developed a soft-scented meringue cake as light as pavlova for Hotel Esplanade in 1935. However, after his death in 1974, New Zealand newspapers contested his claim. Leach said the press cited a flood of responses from women convinced that they had been making and eating pavlova cakes before 1935. New Zealand historians examined local cookbooks for pavlova recipes predating Saxby's alleged invention, and found a 1928 recipe from Rose Rutherford in Dunedin for small coffee-flavoured walnut meringues that she called little pavlovas. Australian claims to the pavlova did not end with Saxby, however, as researchers uncovered a recipe for a 4-layer gelatin dessert called pavlova from Davis Gelatin in 1926. Yet the issue with the recipes from both Davis and Rutherford is that neither created the meringue cake now extensively associated with the name pavlova. So far, examples of traditional meringue pavlovas are found after Rutherford and Davis but before Saxby. Leach identified one such example in the 1933 Ronyora's Mother's Union cookery book, which contains a recipe called pavlova cake. However, the Ronyora Mothers Union did not invent the dessert either, since a rural magazine in 1929 detailed another pavlova cake. In fact, the number of desserts inspired by Anna Pavlova does not suggest a single invention. Rather, the dish appears to originate from a common desire to celebrate the legendary dancer. And the gradual widespread transition from meringue cake to pavlova highlights a popular association between the fluffy white dessert and the swan-like ballerina. Researcher Michael Simmons said the invention of the pavlova involves countless contributors from Australia, New Zealand, and beyond. He credited the concept of a single inventor to the intense social construct developed around the pavlova, explaining that creation concerns two social processes. The first is social invention, which is built upon the exchange of practical experience, while the second process, social construction, concerns makers and consumers attaching a name and meaning. The invention of the pavlova, for example, may have occurred through social and cultural interaction, but individuals and nations established their own meaning. Consequently, the pavlova became a symbol of national identity and pride for both Australia and New Zealand. Yet given its shared origin, perhaps it is time to set aside attempts to claim the pavlova and instead accept and celebrate its mutual importance. Today we are going to use a recipe from the 1989 reprint of the New Presbyterian Women's Missionary Union cookbook, which was first published in 1904. The recipe calls for a third cup of sugar, a teaspoon of corn flour, and half a teaspoon of vinegar and vanilla per egg white. To start, the egg white should be beaten until stiff, like so. The sugar should then be added gradually, and the mixture beaten again to form stiff peaks. Next, the corn flour, vinegar, and vanilla must be folded into the mixture. Place a circle of baking paper onto the base of an upturned cake tin. Then spread the pavlova mixture onto the base of the tin, extending outwards until the pavlova reaches the edge. Bake the pavlova in an oven at 130 degrees Celsius or 265 degrees Fahrenheit for 30 minutes. Then reduce the oven to 120 degrees Celsius or 248 degrees Fahrenheit and bake for an hour more. Allow the pavlova to cool in the oven for 1 to 2 hours after baking. The final step of a pavlova is decoration, typically using whipped cream and a variety of fruits. To whip, use a heavy cream and electric beaters or a whisk. Some people also add a teaspoon of vanilla essence for flavor. Keep beating the cream until it forms stiff peaks. Pour the whipped cream on top of the pavlova and add the fruit on top of the cream in an aesthetic design. Fruit curd such as lemon or passion fruit is also a popular addition. And this is the final product. Thank you for watching, and if you would like to see more public history videos, please be sure to leave a like and subscribe.